Philosophers talk to our times as the rosy light brings the morning. And I'm reminded of that very celebrated passage today in Nietzsche, in Gay Science, where he points out that after the death of God, a God killed by pity for himself as much as for creation. After that death, then, of that wild, tempestuous God, men worshipped his shadow, as it was held in a cave, and pretended for millennia not to understand what the very death of God meant, how it changed everything, unpicked the secrets of identity, opened up the dreams of agency, changed what it was to be alive. This point, of course, is very simple. Just being an atheist doesn't change anything if you don't change the structure in which you understand the entire essence of the world that has 3,000, 2,000, you pick your millennia, years, shaped our understanding of what it was to be a self, a person, a thing, what it was to live in a world of sunlights and moonrises, what it was to be. Everything becomes at stake. And of course, thinking that is just too hard for most humans. We'd rather just pretend. We'd pretend that God was still there. There is a kind of, Nietzsche will say elsewhere, a will to power that animates things long after their purpose and their use. They're just there, and always will be there. More than that, their simple assertion of their own existence, beyond purpose or use, becomes then a kind of nihilism, a denial of the world that is coming, that is, and the re-evaluation of values that it demands. Okay, so what's this got to do with this week? This week is, of course, a week like no other. There is now more carbon dioxide in the on the surface of the planet, the atmosphere of the planet, sorry, idiot, that I am, than there has been any time since human evolution, so 2 million years. Nobody knows what its effect will be, but you can be sure it won't help humanity one iota. More than that, it looks like we've hardwired in a 1.6 degree rise in the global temperature. No going back. Done. And if we carry on doing what we're doing at the moment, we'll go up to 4 or 5. Just to remind you, 4 or 5, the projected population of the world, I'm doing this from memory, but I think it's less than 1 billion. 5 in 6 people die. Oh, and that's not people in other lands. That's you in the West. Here where we live in the Ariège, there's been an amazing summer. Atrocious. At one level, it's been had the hottest day in the records of the Ariège, 41 degrees. But it's also had some of the coldest summer days as well. Both in the same summer. Nothing could grow. The harvest failed. Why? Because global warming is, of course, misnamed. It should be called global chaos. And, of course, this is the headlines. Oh, do me a favour. And why? Because we'd rather worship the shadow gods. All the more so, of course, as life becomes difficult and shadow seems somehow more comforting in all its terror than actual reality. I was reminded of this again. I have a friend who's very, very ill, and he used to, when he was young, have quite a lot of Christian biker friends who, when he was holding parties and being the socialite, would come and see him and hang around. And of course, since he's ill, I haven't been there at all. They're busy reading their Bibles, I guess. And that is my experience, I'm afraid, call me a cynic, of evangelical Christianity the whole world over. It's a friend for the good times. And in the bad, well, Christ can sort it out. Christ if they will. Because behind all these faiths is that base nihilism that demands the world doesn't change. And if it does change, if it does warm up, doesn't believe it, doesn't cope, can't even dream what it means, and would rather either straight deny it or assert that it was God's purpose, I suppose. Or fantasize about the end of the world coming some other way. Well, why not? After all, the real culprit in this, of course, is not so much the evangelical Christianity. That's just the symptom. The ideology, the opiate people are taking. You can see where this is going, can't you? The real culprit, of course, is a capitalist system whose entire investment plan is based on a system of value that has found it very, very difficult to rejig to a world where big corporations aren't the driving force of global economy, and oil companies aren't paying all the pensions, where shipping companies are not needed, where all the infrastructure of the fossil fuel industry is jettisoned and replaced with a much smaller, local, more empowering for those who use it, system. More empowering, certainly. More useful, certainly. More likely to make us survive, undoubtedly. But unfortunately, the shadow of God says no. And we would rather follow the old shadows, the old dreams, the nihilism, the memory of an empire, of we the fittest in that empire, than face any sort of modern reality, where in comparison to the dream, our status, our simple lust to be a self, a thing, to have a soul, to be loved by a God, it just gets lost. And we have to find other ways to value who we are, other people to be, other dreams. So, here we are then, obsessing about AI, obsessing about robots, or in France, the release of a president who was so corrupt they actually put him in prison. When all the while, beat by slow beat, the planet warms up. Chaos spreads throughout our climate. That will gather us all to it. Next year, year after, perhaps a decade. But is becoming increasingly certain. And yet in the face of that certainty, we have only a nihilism that denies it, that asserts the world cannot change, that invokes the dreadful shadow of a long-dead deity to try and ground itself in some sort of reality, a reality that is at war with actual life as it is lived. I suppose this is the challenge of our times, to learn that lesson we have never learned. What it means to really do without the gods of capitalism and the gods of empire. That colonialism that infests our mind. What it means to live amongst equals in a world that can be truly shared. A myth, perhaps, a dream. But in the end, it is the only answer to the kind of nihilism that is gripping us all.